Hello and welcome to a brief chat on, I suppose, the whole of hand-arm vibration and its problems. What I've been doing in previous weeks is giving you little chunks of information, but I thought it'd be wise just to take from start to finish and look at people's motivations, which is basically why do we want to sort out hand-arm vibration, why do companies actually look at sorting hand-arm vibration out. So let's go right back to the start. Why do companies ring us? It is basically to help them with hand-arm vibration, but what's their motivation? What is driving them through to us? A lot of the things that we see is fear almost. It's that you don't understand what hand-arm vibration is. It's almost like, oh my God, I don't know the problem, can someone please help me with it? It may even be that you've had a visit from the regulators and said, what you're doing is wrong. It may be that you've suffered with compensation claims or you've got a raft of claims going through in your business. You know, these are almost the elephant in the room, which people do not want to talk about, but these are often the drivers. Now, the problem with these drivers is that they can actually lead you to making the wrong decisions. So you can panic and you can put systems in place which actually cause you as a business, as an organisation, more hassle than actually good. You know, you can end up creating a business or an organisation or a structure that actually does more to basically manage data, does more to manage your risk, your liability, to protect the business from claims, and actually what the regulation was brought around for, which is to protect people's hands. Now, the way the regulations are functioned, the way they're supposed to work, is to make it quite simple for you to be able to manage it. And they're actually a bit of common sense. So go right back to the basics and we say, what does the first thing say? So there's a risk assessment. Look at the level of exposure your operators are at. Now, that's not a difficult thing to do. Yeah, you can do it by getting someone like myself, a consultant in, do vibration measurements, and I'll give you a beautiful report. I'll tell you exactly what the exposure is. I'll give you times on what people are using the tools for. But then what do you do with that report? Is that report just going to be a case of, right, I've had it done now, I'll put it in a drawer, and if anybody comes to ask me any questions, should it be the HSE, should it be my insurance company, should it be a solicitor, I can get the report and go, there you go. But actually, are you doing any good with that report? Are you thinking, right, what's the data that's giving me? How am I going to put in place improvements? Okay, so that's just the risk assessment. Now, you don't need me to tell you what level of risk your employees are at, because all you need is how long are they using the tools for, what's the vibration exposure of the tools, what's the vibration level of the tools. You can even have it's not ideal, but you could use manufacturer's data for a start. Yeah, so you could use manufacturer's data, estimate the time of what the exposure to the operators is, and that's the first step of a risk assessment. Now, you can go in more detail than after, but what I'm saying to you is, you don't have to panic and go, well, let's get this sorted, let's do this. You can spend an awful lot of money then doing very little. Next step, you've got risk assessment, eliminate, reduce, control. Classic sort of health and safety terms, but what are you doing as a business to eliminate vibration? Yeah, you might have already done it. You might have already put in systems that have automated, methods of work that have actually completely removed the operator from being exposed to vibration in the first place. Now, you might have done this on for monetary reasons, for production purposes, but you haven't recorded it. You haven't put it down on a bit of paper that says, look what we're doing, look at all this best practice we're doing. Often go into companies and say, record all the good stuff that you're doing as a business. Your next step, reduce. How do you reduce the exposure? So we've looked at eliminate and reduce. Reduce is the bit that's quite simple to do. Have you got two people that you could potentially share a job with? So instead of one person being exposed to X amount of vibration, you can split that vibration up between two people. That's brilliant, isn't it? Simple reduction of the risk. And then the last bit is control. So you don't even look at controlling it until you've said, can we eliminate it, can we reduce it? Yet for some reason, people often just forget the eliminate and the reduce bit and go straight into the control. And it can be a big issue. It can be a big issue because all you end up doing is, I've seen companies, mountains and mountains of paper and data stacked up. And what do, especially companies where you've got thousands of people working for you, What are you going to do with all that data? Archive it? Great. And what are you going to do? How are you going to access all that data? When you need it? You probably won't, will you? So it's almost just creating paperwork for the sake of creating paperwork. So the control thing is really important. How do you control hand-arm vibration exposure? It's about doing a really good, realistic risk assessment. Because if you actually know what the exposure is, then you can look at ways to eliminate and reduce it. You know what the exposure is, you're controlling it. It's really, 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 really simple. Now, the last bits, which we add on, is training. So information, instruction, training. It's such a key bit which can, I think a lot of companies can let themselves down, or a lot of organisations can massively let themselves down, because they actually don't engage with the workforce about it. So we see a lot of people just read from PowerPoints, which is one of my it's a big issue. If all you do is put PowerPoint with words on that you're reading off, what you're actually achieving there, you could just may as well give the operators a bit of paper and say, see you later, keep working. Whereas actually what you should do is engage with the operators to try and get in their heads. What are they working? What are they doing? What is their exposure? What is their risk? How important are their hands to them? Yeah? And this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. This is something that's going to happen for the whole working lives. Okay? Something that they might not be working for you forever, but they might be working for other businesses. But isn't it worthwhile letting them take that knowledge with them? Yeah? That they've got to look after their hands the best way they can look after their hands. And maybe passing on some of the good, best practice that you've learned at your organisation and taking that with them to the next organisation. That's exactly what we should be doing within health. You know, that's exactly what our approach is. Now, the last bit, recently I've seen done, so bad. There's some really good companies, but there's some really bad companies doing this. It's health surveillance. Health surveillance is like the real, true measure of hand-arm vibration. Okay? Are the systems I'm putting in place, are they working? Are the people that are working for me, do they have issues with their hands? Because if they do, you need to know about it. You want it done properly. Get this in place. Double check all the certificates that the medical people, the people that you're employing, the medical professionals that come in, they're paid to do a job for you. Make sure they're qualified enough to do that job. Make sure you're checking what they're on with, checking what they're doing. Scrutinise everything that everyone does for you. Because otherwise, people will just say, yeah, that's the way it's done, that's the way it's always done. Unless you ask these questions, unless you keep pushing and saying, how do I do that? How do I do that? How do I do that? Are you doing that right? Are you doing that right? This is the way to get to a perfect, or to close as perfect as we can get, hand-arm vibration management system. So just going back over what I've covered there, risk assessment, you can do it yourself, it's easy. Okay? Yeah? We've brought out so many simple solutions for companies so they can do their own risk assessments. We've produced products that enable other people to do it. That's how confident we are you can do it yourself. And do you know what the benefit of it is? If you do it yourself, you actually understand it more. I got a call from I'll say a supervisor the other week. He said, Andy, I actually understand it now because I've done the risk assessment myself. Now that was great, and that was almost a realisation for me because I thought, I'm always trying to get operators to understand the risks. And I almost think that the managers automatically know them. But actually they don't, or they don't understand the reasons behind it, or why we're trying to achieve what we're trying to achieve. So when we got that the other week, I thought, brilliant. You know, it's not just informing and educating operators, it's informing and educating managers. And some of the best ways to do that is getting them to do their own risk assessments, getting them to understand why they're doing the risk assessments. Because if they don't, then actually, do they know realistically what the exposures is and what the level of risk is? I question whether they do, in all fairness. So a really good risk assessment you can do yourself, really important. I'll eliminate, reduce, control. 3 simple things. Demonstrate what you're doing, what your business is doing with regards to each one of them. Strive to eliminate, strive to reduce, and where you can't do that, then control it as much as you can. Okay? I'm not going to go into the legal levels because you can see all that on the HSE website. I'm just giving you my information, what I see on a daily basis. Information to operators, information to managers, like I was just saying. Finally, occupational health, health surveillance, making sure that health surveillance that's delivered within your business is the best. Yeah, everyone's competent and qualified. Everyone can deliver that training, that level of assessment to the best of their ability, and you need to make sure, it's your responsibility to make sure they're competent, okay? So obviously we're very passionate about what we're doing. We want to see people complying, and we want to see people doing best practice, and we want to see people, their whole system of managing hand-arm vibration is the best. Long term, it's a simple system that can just be utilised everywhere, and it's just not difficult. So thanks very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed. A bit longer than usual, but it is what it is. Get in touch if you need anything. We're always happy to help. You know the telephone number where we're at. So thanks ever so much. Cheers.